Mark Allen along with Dr. Andrew Campbell for Innovision. We are honored to speak with Gladys McGarey. She has written a book, as you can see, it's on our screen right now. It's called The Well-Lived Life, a 102-year-old doctor's 6 secrets to health and happiness at every age. And I welcome you, Dr. McGarey.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a privilege.
I'll start, and Dr. Campbell, when you have a thought, just pop right in. What would you say is the number one reason for your longevity?
It's life and love. It's a fact that they go together, and as long as they're connected, there's life flows, and life has to move. And if you keep it moving, life goes on. If you stop it, if you get stuck someplace and stop the movement of life and love together, it stops.
Would you say that and I should point out, not only have you written this book, you still are consulting as a doctor?
Well, not as a physician. I don't have a license in medicine at this point, you know. So nobody told me I had to stop talking.
Okay. So you consult with other doctors, maybe.
Well, if we want to talk, we can talk, but with people who want to just, share their story with me, and I can share my story with them, it works.
It works.
I agree.
Had you ever, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dr. Campbell.
Well, I was going to ask Dr. McGarey, what keeps you interested and keep going in medicine instead of switching to something else or gardening or doing something else? What keeps you still within the folds of our profession?
Because I love it. I just love working with people who are looking for life and wanting to do something. And, that feeds our juice. When we can work with a person who is really looking for something, and the light comes on, and the physician within them starts to cooperate with what we're saying, that's what it's all about.
I can't agree with you more. It's the same for me. My children and grandchildren ask me, when are you going to retire? I tell them the day before I die, because I love what I do. I love helping people. For me, it's a privilege. Getting people from illness to live their normal life again.
Right. I always said I wasn't going to retire until I had something to retire to. And then I had the opportunity to work with the people in Afghanistan, and that's when I retired. So in my way of working through this has been, I had to reach for something that I could do. And if I could do that, okay, just like this. I mean, who could imagine? I couldn't, that the 3 of us could be talking like this in 3 different places and actually see each other,
It's like the Dick Tracy watch. Remember in the comics?
I sure do.
And you could, he would talk to his girlfriend on the moon, right?
Yeah. What I think too is that what we're doing is reaching for our true humanity. Like E.T. was reaching for home. I think within us is that real core essence of who we are as human beings. And we got all confused when we thought when God created the universe and he told us that we had dominion over the earth, we thought he said dominance, and we got very puffed up and we started doing what we can do, and we've destroyed things. So in the process, of doing that, I think we are working towards reclaiming our true humanity.
Was there a time when you were either in school or medical school, and you were, you were in medical school, I believe, during World War II?
Yeah.
It must have been hard as being a woman, one, and you asked a lot of questions. You thought outside the box, so to speak.
Right. Yeah. Well, I went to Women's Medical College in Philadelphia, so the women's issues were sort of so prominent. I mean, in the teaching, we were told how bad it was going to be and how we had to be tougher than the boys and all this kind of thing. And so, and then, yes, I had questions because I'd watched my parents do amazing things in the jungles of North India and healing from nothing but just who they were, who the patient was, who they were, and the few things like quinine and some other things that they had that they could use and to work with things. But they didn't have technology that like was available to us and that we were learning about in medical school. So I had questions, and enough so that the dean decided I wasn't the right quality of person to be going into medicine. And she sent me to a psychiatrist twice. The psychiatrist had thought my issues were relevant or something, and he sent me back, much to the dean's dismay. But, it's that inner knowing that, but what? Yeah, okay, we're doing this. Now what's going to happen? It's that if we're doing something, then how, when looking for that spark of understanding from the patient themselves.
You became what we call now an integrative physician, a functional medicine physician. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. Yes.
And why? Dr. Campbell and I have talked about this as well, in that many physicians today treat the symptom, not looking for the cause.
Well, when we started the American Holistic Medical Association, it was because we understood that what we were taught and what was being done was working with the mind and the body, and that's great. You have to do that, but there was something missing, and actually, it took us 2 years to figure out how to spell holistic, because we had to use the root word heal, health, and holy. And if you put that in, you had a holistic spelled with an H. So we worked at that, and that was real good. And then there was now I'm using another term, which I'll let I'll say. I don't know, about 15 years ago, I was in the grocery store up here, and I heard the hardware store down the street calling itself a holistic hardware store. So I stopped my cart and I said, well, there you have it. They know the word, but they don't know what it means. And so I'm going to start calling it what I've been calling it, which is living medicine. Now, living medicine for me takes it to the point where the essence of what we're talking about is what we're working with.
You can relate to that, can't you, Dr. Campbell?
Oh, I sure can. Various things that Dr. McGarey said, and that's that spark that you have. It's that connection with the patient, and you now understand really what's wrong with them. There's a lot of people that are book smart, in medicine.
Mhm.
They've read all the books. They passed all the tests with good grades. They graduated really good medical school and so on. But some of them don't quite connect with, they connect to a certain degree, but there's that spark. And once you have that spark with that patient, the path to healing is much smoother and you can see it.
Yes.
So,
Mhm.
and feel it. So, and the patient themselves, I always make it a point to offer a hug to all my patients
Oh, absolutely.
because
And that's
they're
interesting.
just like you. They're no different.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because years ago I talked to a physician, and he doesn't like the idea of telemedicine because he can't hug his patient.
Yeah.
And he
Right.
said part of what docs do is that touching is healing.
Absolutely. Well, you know, my eldest son is a retired orthopedic surgeon. And when he finished his training, he came through Phoenix, and he said he was going down to Del Rio, Texas to start his practice. And he said, Mom, you know, I'm real scared. He said, I have all this training and all this understanding and stuff. But he said, I'm going to go out into the world. I'm going to have people's lives in my hands. I don't know if I can handle that. And I said, well, Carl, if you think you're the one that does the healing, you have a right to be scared. But if you can understand that it's your job to contact the physician within that patient as your colleague, and then after you've done your job, which is amazing. I mean, orthopedic surgeons, if you have some part of your body that's broken, you want to have a good orthopedic working on you. So I said, you do your job to the best of your ability, and then you support the patient as they do their job like you would any other colleague. And so, you know, he did. He's retired now. He's living on, he has a 6-acre piece of land up in Washington State, and he had llamas, and he has even a donkey, you know, all this kind of stuff. Anyway, it's that essence that says, I need to work with something that's living. Life has to go on. And so it's we get stuck with looking for, you know, I have two things I want to say. One
Okay.
is, there's a new word that I bet you haven't heard yet, and I got it in a dream. This is years ago. I woke up and there was a huge crash, and I woke up and I saw myself in a valley in the high Himalayas, and on the right hand side there was a young woman splayed out on the ground, barely breathing, and on the left hand side there was a man in armor, huge man, in the same position, barely breathing. And the information came to me, these two sources have been fighting each other for eons. It's time that they stop this kind of fighting, punching each other, and put their fingers together and tried to understand who and what was going on. And so I woke up and I thought, yeah. And I had a friend that was very intuitive. So I called her, we talked about that. And she said, well, you know, I have another word that I want to use. And she says, I've been using it for a while. It's called, well, because we were talking about manifesting. And she says, the word I'm talking about is femifesting. And I think that's a great word because it helps us understand what it is that we're working with, this inner energy. To manifest, you're Jacob's ladder. You know, you get a degree and then you practice and then you buy a house and you all of this. You manifest something on this dimension, and that's essential. But the femifestation, it's like a spiral. You can be up on the fifth level of a spiral and know what's going on down the second one. That we don't we women work like that. And right tied in with this, think of what a pregnancy is. Pregnancy is total femifestation, but it can't manifest until the baby takes its first breath. Because femifestation is a unit, it's a constant, it's a complete unit within itself. What I eat, the baby eats. It's that kind of thing. But when the baby takes its first breath, it's responsible for itself, because within itself, it has that whole femifestation aspect of who and what it is. It's so divinely orchestrated and presented that, to me, it just totally, it blows me away. I'm just so excited with it.
Wow. Do doctors today, in your opinion, MDs, do they understand the concept of living medicine?
Oh, stop it. I have a phone that talks. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Watch.
Just like Dick Tracy.
Yeah, really. I forgot to tell it to stop. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the question is, do you think that most doctors today understand living medicine, your concept?
Well, that's why I'm talking about it. I think it's not a new concept, but it's a new way of presenting it. You know, as we begin to understand different things. Here's another thing. I was talking to a Welsh person, a person from Wales, a few years ago, and she said in the mornings when they get up, they don't say good morning to each other. They say, "How's your weird?" Because they know that within each of us, there is this aspect that they call their weird. So, we know these things, but we've lost them. Somehow with the amazing stuff that we've learned in our heads, we've lost connection with what goes on in our innermost being.
Dr. Campbell, do you like the concept of living medicine? I think that's great.
Of course. I mean, first of all, it makes sense. Second of all, when you don't have to be a genius to understand it. This is common sense, and I think that it espouses not only medicine but all of humanity. So, and returning to medicine, I started practicing before insurance companies got involved with plans. What happens today when you go to see a doctor? The first thing that they ask for is your insurance card
before your name.
And I know from published studies that doctors spend an enormous time filling out paperwork. Now, the paperwork is required by the insurance companies. It's like saying, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm not going to pay you for the work you did.
Yeah.
Doctors today depend on that for their living, on insurance companies, not on how well they help patients, but rather what correct code they used for what procedure or disease. So when you're focused on the right codes and the right diseases, and you can only prescribe this drug, not that other one, because it's not on the list of the insurance company,
Right.
You're now getting a check, and my dad told me always, you work for whoever gives you a check. So doctors are working for large corporations. They're not working for the patient. It doesn't matter anymore. So I think that's a deterioration, in my opinion. And I can tell you, just like Dr. McGarey, I've been to other countries and helped out, and it's completely different. It's completely different. You're not shackled with all these codes and things to make the insurance companies make more money. So I think that by being able to focus on healing the patient and helping that patient get their life back has been taken away from a lot of doctors, because today they graduate and they're technologically savvy. They go around with a pad and they're always looking at the screen. They're not looking at the patient anymore. And when I get I have to get an annual physical. I mean, it takes them 3 minutes.
Right.
Well, I've never done a physical examination in 3 minutes in my entire career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dr. McGarey, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking to I don't know, some person that was running a big hospital here a while back. It still is. But he said, how do we incorporate the different people who are doing different things? Like, how can we incorporate a chiropractor and a massage therapist and so on into our unit of the hospital? He was honestly asking for questions. And I said, well, I don't think it's the modality as much as it is why you're using that modality. If the basis for the reach that you have is life and love, you can do that with any modality. We have taken our energy off of where the healing starts, and it's exactly what you're saying, and we've put it into, well, if you're a chiropractor, or you're actually we have incorporated osteopaths. Thank you. My parents were both osteopaths. They taught by AT still, way back when. But the point being that it's not the modality, and that's what the insurance companies are all focused on. I mean,
Right.
it's totally that, and the money and so on. I have 5 L's that I think are the basis of how this could fit in. Life and love, those 2 L's go together. The first is life. Life by itself can't do anything. A seed in the pyramid stays there for 5,000 years until water and love activity activates it and cracks the seed, and then the universe can find this amazing whatever it is that's there, which is called life. But life and love, and it's like with a pregnancy, the ovum and the sperm have to be connected or nothing happens. It's that the essence of those 2 L's. The third L is laughter. In my 5, laughter without love is cruel. It's mean. It's cold. But laughter with love is happiness and joy and healing.
We only have a couple of moments left. I'm going to ask Dr. McGarey to do one thing for us. Can you tell us a joke to make us laugh with love?
Well, I'm not very good at telling jokes. I better.
Okay. Dr. McGarey, you have one? Dr. Campbell?
I do. What's the difference between a man buying a lottery ticket at the supermarket and a man arguing with a woman?
I don't know.
The difference is the man buying a lottery ticket has a chance that he can win.
Listen, I thank you both for being with us today, and look forward to future conversations. Dr. McGarey, you're terrific. I want to be you when I grow up.
Oh, thank you. I love that.
I hold on. I'm Mark Allen. We'll see you on our next episode. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.